Hey everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome to the first installment of Open Cluster Management community meetings for 2024. Today is January the 12th. On the agenda today, I think QJan wants to discuss a little bit about if we should have a SDK or a API repo. For more details, I'll let QJan take it away. QJan, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Uh, Let me share my screen. Yeah, so this is something that I discussed with Training and Liu Wei recently. The problem we met so is about whether we should split some code from the API repo to a separated repo to host the some code that can be used by the third party. Um, the so currently in the API repo, in addition to the API definitions, we also have some kind of helper functions. For example, um, in the in the cluster V1 Alpha 1, we previously we put the rollout strategy API and all the related rollout strategy API helper functions in this repo. But we met a problem. The problem we met is we use some kind of generics um, in this helper functions, but this generic features cannot be recognized by the code generators in the kube. So that uh, brings some problem, like the whole V1 Alpha 1 directory cannot be recognized by the code generators, and then we cannot like auto-generate other V1 Alpha 1 APIs. So the workaround currently is that we just don't do any generations for the API in V1 Alpha 1 today. But that certainly brings some potential issues. There are other helper functions like in the V1 beta 2, we have other helper functions relating to the managed cluster set and some is relating to the placement. Currently it works fine, but if we really somehow want to use the generics, that will be a problem. Another set of the functions in the API repos is in the utils. In the utils, we have some kind of the helper functions relating to the work, like how can you validate, build, and apply the work. Uh, this also has been used by other component, um, but currently is maintained in the API repo. And this is the second part. And the third part is something that we are starting to do recently. It's about the cloud events. And the cloud events client is based on the work API, but it use quite a lot of different way to send a message, like it will build a cloud event and based on different kind of message brokers like MQTT or gRPC, we will like use this different instrumentations to where to the different message broker. So that brings two issues. One is that will like introduce quite a lot of libraries including the libraries about MQTT and gRPC, and potentially if we add other support for other message broker, it will also introduce these dependencies on this API repo. But it seems it is a little bit heavy by the other third parties if they just want to import API related, want to depends on the API related library. And also there's other part, like we have to do a lot of things in this cloud events library because there are some kind of workaround around gRPC and maybe some workaround later in the Kafka. Um, and that is not not related relevant to what the API definitions for the open class management. So so this is mainly the third part that we are having for the utility and some kind of the cloud event clients. And we have a discussion and we are thinking maybe it's better that we move this part to a separated repo that is something like SDK with Golang SDK Go repo. So then we can maintain the code there with better integration tests, etc. Oh yeah, another issue that we have today is that to test the cloud events, we need to also um, introduce a cloud events integration test. And that cloud event integration test is to install some kind of the message broker and start the cloud event client to test the implementation. But the problem is this is not quite relating to the API. So if we change the API, so currently if we change the API, it will not trigger this this test integration test. But somehow it brings some kind of hole there. For example, if we change the work API, might be make sense to also like also makes sense. Maybe it is also makes sense to run this test, but we cannot differentiate whether it's a API change only for the work or it's a API change for like other APIs. So this is another issue. So that's a reason that we bring the question ask whether we need a library Go repo or SDK Go repo um, that can uh, be a place that we put all the helper functions, utility functions, and client, not the Go client, Kube client, but the other like the cloud event client to there. Um, so we can make the API repo more clear to be only focused on the API part. Yeah, I think that's background and what we want to do. Any questions?
if we follow through and let's say we split up, will that reduce our go.mod dependency? Because I really like our when I import a project, for example, I really like importing our OCM project because the API go.mod is quite small compared to, for example, if I have to import Argo CD API, I have to it's almost impossible to resolve all the dependencies. So I always like the fact that our our API repo go.mod is kind of have a small footprint, but as we work on some for example, maybe it was the helper functions, or maybe we're introducing the event-based service broker model. It seems like the go.mod grew a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, will this help shrink it back down a little bit?
Yes, I think so. I think if we only if another project only depends on the API, um, with this change, the footprint can be shrinked. Like there won't be any other dependencies on like the depend the dependencies on the some kind of events-based libraries. But if they want to also use other utilities like um, some helper functions from the placement or some helper functions from the work, the project will also need to depends on another one, maybe called the SDK Go, etc. With that, the Go mode will be larger.
Right. That's fine. Yeah. That sounds pretty good to me. That's all the question I have. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Are there any other comments or feedback? Um, if not, Qicheng, do you have any other uh, topics that you want to bring up to the community?
No. It's only one today.
Okay. If not, once again, maybe everyone just came back from New Year, so everyone is a little bit more relaxed. Um, that's okay. Happy New Year to everyone again. We're gonna cut this one short and give us back 15 minutes of our time. Thank you all. See y'all next time. Take care. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.